The kingdom of God is like a mustard seed. 11th Sunday in Ordinary Time, Year B. In the first reading for today, God tells the prophet Ezekiel that one day his kingdom, God's kingdom, will become so great that it will overshadow all other kingdoms. The image God uses to express this extraordinary growth is God taking a shoot from the top of a very tall cedar tree and then taking that shoot and planting it on a high mountain in Israel. There the cedar grows until it surpasses all other trees, and under the cedar's tree's shade, all types of birds build their homes and find shelter. The responsorial psalm for today also refers to a cedar tree. This time, though, the cedar of Lebanon is compared to a just person who is strong, faithful, and very good. Throughout the Old Testament, the cedar, and particularly the tall cedar of Lebanon, is used in a variety of similar, positive ways that signify power, strength, and health. For example, the book of Leviticus even includes cedar as an essential ingredient for lepers to be cleansed, to be cured from their leprosy by a priest. The great King David's palace was constructed partly out of cedar, valued for its strength and resistance to rot. Naturally, when King David's son Solomon became king of Israel and began building the first temple in Jerusalem out of stone, what wood did he use to line the inside walls with? Cedar. As is evident, the cedar tree is a symbol in the Old Testament for power, wealth, health, strength, kingdom, and beauty. All of these attributes, though, can be ordered to God or be used against God. For this reason, other passages in the Old Testament use cedar to describe corruption. For example, the prophet Jeremiah describes an evil, greedy, wealthy man as one, and I quote, who builds his house by unrighteousness and his upper rooms by injustice, who says, I will build myself a great house with spacious upper rooms, and cuts out windows for it, paneling it with cedar. The prophet Isaiah more directly uses cedar as a symbol of wickedness when he describes proud people who will be humbled by God. And I quote, For the Lord of hosts has a day against all that is proud and lofty, against all that is lifted up and high, against all the cedars of Lebanon, lofty and lifted up. The haughtiness, the pride of men shall be humbled, and the pride of men shall be brought low. The prophet Ezekiel even signals out the great empire of Egypt, ruled by a very mighty Pharaoh, as like, I quote, a cedar in Lebanon. God, though, Ezekiel prophesies, will humble the proud Pharaoh and his oppressive mighty empire. Jesus, in today's gospel passage, describes another kingdom, and the greatest kingdom of all, the kingdom of God. In describing the kingdom of God, Jesus could have compared it to a cedar of Lebanon. After all, we've already seen that the cedar tree is used in the Old Testament to describe powerful men and powerful kingdoms, both good or evil. And yet Jesus does not do so. Instead, he surprises his audience by comparing his kingdom to what? To a large vegetable bush, the mustard plant that grows out of a tiny seed. At first glance, this seems like an odd choice, especially because when compared to a beautiful cedar tree that even has a very pleasant smell, the mustard plant, points out Brant Petrie, is a bit ugly looking, and it is not known for its fragrance. And yet this is the plant that Jesus chose for us to understand how the kingdom of God on earth grows through the Catholic Church that Jesus established and died for. Perhaps one way of understanding Jesus' choice is to reflect on who are the human building blocks that make up Christ's church. Not so much what is the church, but who are the church, as the ecclesiologist Kamanchek points out. Those God chose from the beginning and who God chooses now are often filled with many imperfections and consequently are a bit ugly looking. But despite these appearances and their imperfections, Jesus chose them, Jesus chooses us, and mysteriously Jesus causes the kingdom of God to grow on earth miraculously through us, miraculously through these imperfect people, to the astonishment of the powerful on earth. When the powerful confidently think that they can easily uproot the church, they're always frustrated because, like a tenacious mustard plant, comments Petrie, it just pops right back up from the surface of the soil and keeps on growing. Why? Because this is how God ordinarily wishes to manifest his power and his glory in the world through the lowly and imperfect. The only human person that lacked all imperfection and was more beautiful in all ways than even a cedar of Lebanon was God's mother, the Blessed Virgin Mary. Mary, though, did not become proud because of her lack of imperfection and flaws. Instead, she remained the humble handmaid of the Lord, and ever serves to remind us, as an example from human history itself, what we are promised to become when we are, God willing, welcomed as definitive members into the kingdom of heaven after we die, beautiful, strong, and powerful like the cedars of Lebanon, and yet humble before God. God bless.